Three players just got tossed in a Sky Sun game, the officials spent nearly 10 minutes at the monitor, and the WNBA is reviewing the whole mess. But here's the twist. Angel Reese wasn't ejected. However, she's sitting on 7 technical fouls this season, and one more triggers an automatic one-game suspension under the league's updated rule. Last night in Brooklyn, with all eyes on the meltdown drama, she answered with a 21-10 double-double as Chicago beat the Liberty 91-85. Yet the real pressure point hits this Saturday, when the Sky face the Sun again and the atmosphere is already boiling. You saw it. Midway through the second quarter at Mohegan Sun, tempers snapped. Connecticut's Bria Hartley and Chicago's Rebecca Allen got tangled, shoved, grabbed, and hit the floor. Ariel Atkins joined the scrum, bodies collided with officials, and whistles sliced through the noise. After a long review, the refs went heavy, 3 ejections, end of debate, move the game on. And while that chaos grabbed the headlines, a second storyline quietly set the stakes for the rest of the Sky's week. Because Angel Reese, the league's most scrutinized rebounder this year, is one technical from the rulebook's trapdoor. The WNBA lifted the threshold from 7 to 8 technicals when it expanded to 44 games, but the math is still brutal. Tech number 8 means you're out for 1 game, and every 2 after that adds another. Reese is at 7. That's the scoreboard few people see, and it's blinking red as the schedule tightens and as emotions keep simmering around Chicago games. If you froze the frame on the brawl, it looks like the villain is another player. But if you zoom out, the villain is pressure itself. Pressure from the rulebook, pressure from opponents baiting a whistle, pressure from a season that has invited contact, talking, and flashpoints. Reese has lived in that pressure all year. Her style is physical, her motor is constant, and her visibility is sky high. That combination draws cameras and it draws techs. It's not a conspiracy, it's a reality of how she plays, how teams play her, and how referees assess control. The receipts stack up. Earlier in the season, the tech count crept up one by one across games against top contenders and marquee guards. By late July, the tally hit 7. The league's threshold became the ticking clock on every dead ball, every stare down, every clap at a call. And the other team knows it. The smartest scouting report against a player 1 tech from suspension isn't only about boxing her out. It's about nudging her line, matching her talk, and trusting the whistle to do the rest. That's strategy, not a myth. Now pivot to last night in Brooklyn. The Sky walk into Barclays with noise swirling, about ejections, about control, about whether Chicago's season still has a heartbeat. Reese gives them a heartbeat. 21 points, 10 boards, and an 8-0 closing run for a road win. Cardoso pounds the paint, the Sky flip the script on New York's rebounds, and the endgame turns quiet except for Chicago's celebration. That's the other side of pressure. When composure wins, you don't hear much about it. When a star sits at 7 technicals and still plays within the lines, that's discipline disguised as normal. But one discipline night doesn't erase the stakes. The Sun rematch is coming fast. We already have a tape that includes shoves, jerseys grabbed, a referee nearly clipped in the crossfire, and 3 players sent to the tunnel. We have fresh history, sore memories, and a crowd ready to grade every collision. The officiating crew will feel that. The players will feel that. And Angel Reese must live between her identity, the relentless rebounder, and the line the rulebook just drew. So, what actually changes on the court? First, the opening 4 minutes. That's where most games test the temperature. If Reese sags early boards without the little extra, no demonstrative claps at calls, no sarcastic looks, no cheap reach on a dead ball. She communicates to the crew, to the Sun's bigs, and to her own bench that tonight is about control. If the Sun try to leverage the memory of the last meeting by wedging her under the rim and chirping after whistles, she can flip that into free throws and foul trouble the old-fashioned way. Duck-ins, seals, and deep catches. Second, matchups. If Tina Charles is banging in the mid-post, Chicago can send a late dig instead of a hard double to avoid ticky-tack rotations and frustration calls. If Connecticut frontlines the entry to deny Reese, Chicago needs backside lobs and quick duck-ins to force honest coverage. The more on-time the passes, the fewer look-at-me moments after contact. Precision reduces theater. Precision reduces tech risk. Third, bench minutes and breathing spaces. When a player carries 7 techs, coaches can manage emotion with rotations, shorter stints, more frequent breathers, and a quick sit after any dust-up. That's not punishment, that's pacing. You ride your star's productivity, but you never let a heat spike become a turning point. The Sky found this rhythm in Brooklyn. They can repeat it Saturday. Let's also examine the counter case. Some fans say Reese's edge is her superpower. Take away the fire, and you lose the player who turns second-chance rebounds into wins, who sets the tone under the rim. They argue the whistle has been inconsistent, that the spotlight has made minor reactions look bigger, and that opponents have learned to sell contact. Fair points. But even if you believe all of that, one number doesn't care: 7. The rule doesn't grade intent, it counts events. That's why Saturday becomes a test of channeling the fire, not dousing it. Here's the mid-video reveal that reframes the entire situation. The WNBA didn't just change the threshold, 8 techs instead of 7. It also stacks extra games for every 2 techs after that. That means one lapse has a ripple. If the 8th whistle happens in a tight playoff race week, you don't just lose one night. You put the next 2 in reach of the same trap. The margin is thinner than it looks. The expanded season didn't dilute the penalty, it sharpened it. Now layer in the Sky's recent form. The win in Brooklyn ended a slide and reminded everyone that, when healthy and composed, Chicago can close. Cardoso's interior gravity unlocks cutters and short roll playmaking. When the defense collapses on paint touches, Chicago's guards get clean pull-ups and slot drives. That's a recipe that punishes teams who overhelp on Reese's seals. It's also a recipe that rewards discipline because it leans on execution rather than whistles. The Sun, meanwhile, have that brawl on the hard drive and veteran bodies who know how to grind a game without losing the whistle. The lesson for Connecticut is simple: strike first with physical legal plays, and trust the refs to see who escalates. The lesson for Chicago is simpler: take the first hit, win the next action, and keep the palms down. Control wins whistles. Control wins close games. Control keeps stars on the floor. Zoom out further. Reese is not the only player living close to the line. Guards around the league have flirted with the limit this season, some publicly airing their frustration with officiating. The difference with Reese is the combination of role, visibility, and the way teams game plan to test her composure. That's why her response matters beyond one night. The Sky's ceiling is tied to her minutes and presence. Her minutes are tied to her composure, and her composure is tied to how Chicago structures the first, second, and third contacts in any possession. Let's forecast the 2 paths for Saturday. Scenario A: early foul trouble on the Sun, a composed Reese living on duck-ins and quick hits, Chicago owning second chance points, and nothing boiling past a double-tech stare down. The Sky win the tempo battle, keep the whistles quiet, and the one tech from band graphic fades for at least a week. Scenario B: a dead ball tangle, chirps stack into a demonstrative reaction, and a quick T flips minutes and rotations. Even if the Sky survive the night, the automatic suspension hits the next one, and the standings punish the emotion. That's the fork in the road. So what should we watch possession to possession? First, crew control on the first scuffle-adjacent play. Do referees step in early and set a standard? Second, Sun weak side rebounding bodies into Reese's back. Are they subtle or obvious? Third, Chicago's response after a no call. Do hands go up or does the ball go up? That difference decides the tech risk more than any single whistle. If you're the Sky staff, the message is short: be first to the spot, not first to talk. Use timeouts after heat spikes, swap cross matches to cool teammates who got tangled, and feed Cardoso on deep catches to reward composure. If you're Connecticut, the message is to drive at the line of control without crossing it. Get bodies into Reese early, then cut and screen off ball to make help defenders choose between contact and daylight. Angel Reese is the hero of this story, but the villain isn't a rival player. The villain is the thin margin between edge and absence. Fans love the fire that powers second chance runs and chest-to-chest defense. Coaches love the gravity that forces doubles. Teammates love the player who never takes a possession off. That same fire, if flashed in the wrong second, costs a night and maybe a seed. That's the real tension. And that's exactly why last night's double-double in Brooklyn mattered. It proved you can have the edge and keep the line. So here's the verdict as we head into Saturday. The Sky can flip the narrative if they win the first 4 minutes with composure and the next 40 with paint touches and rebounding discipline. If Reese keeps the palms down and the knees bent, she turns pressure into production and the 8-tech trap never opens. If the game reverts to shove, tug, and talk, the rulebook becomes the loudest voice in the building. Our watch list: early whistles on off-ball contact, Reese's reactions after contested boards, Cardoso's touches to diffuse crowd swings, and how the crew communicates after the first hard foul. We often ask if emotion wins in the WNBA. The answer is that controlled emotion wins. On Saturday, one player will be asked to prove it in real time, with a season's worth of lights pointed at her and a number, 7, following her from huddle to huddle. Angel Reese doesn't need to be less herself. She needs to be more precise. And if she is, the most important stat of the weekend won't be points or rebounds. It'll be a quiet column in the box score that still reads the same. Technical fouls, 0.